Is that, do you add the 65 in process on top of it, or does that with the 65? Okay.
So closest one? Yes.
Is that a record?
No.
No, you didn't break the record.
It was 1364 last year.
Y'all should be proud of yourselves.
Yes.
We are.
But 1,200
Small steps, right?
Well, no, because it seemed like every year it was like, let's see how much we can top this.
If there's anybody, I don't see the minority caucus represented here, we'll reach out and get them if we can. Welcome, we ready to go, Andrea? I assume you guys ready? Welcome to day 11, I think. It seems like they do blend together. But we had some good discussions on the floor. Well, this is a House day, so we passed a number of House bills, and I think we're moving through. We signed a few bills. I think we're getting a few that are actually passed. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
And you know what I'm going to ask about?
Yes.
Thank you, President. I wanted to ask about the Medicaid expansion fallback plan that's being added to SB 96 that was talked about in leadership this morning. Can you just give me an outline of what this would do? Does it revert back to Prop 3 if you don't get the needed waivers, or?
You know, I was in and out of the leadership meeting, and probably the better thing, and maybe Senator Hemmert was there, but the House is working on this, and
That's just what I was going to say. I don't want to get ahead of where the House is, and I think we need to wait till after House caucus and see where they are, make sure we don't. I don't want to say something that's not accurate, because this is a complicated issue, and it's been trying to thread a lot of needles, and that's kind of where we still are.
I've seen 2 or 3 or 4 options, and every morning I get up, it seems like there's 1 or 2 more. So they're working on some issues, and I think when they get them put together, I think then we'll be able to talk about them.
But you're talking about this in your own caucus today, because whatever changes are made over there comes back.
Is that on the, where's Senator?
It is on the agenda for today in our caucus.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I just don't think it's appropriate for us to get ahead of the House on this one.
Well, it's a Senate bill, and obviously it's a very high-profile bill, and it's already been reported that the issue with the House is what happens if the waivers don't come through and the money runs out. They passed that repeal provision in committee yesterday that even the sponsor, a House sponsor of the bill, didn't like. So what have you found that's going to make this more palatable and get you the votes you need to get it through?
So what'll happen if the House passes something, we'll either concur or not concur, and if we don't concur, we'll go to a conference committee. But until we know, I think Senator Hemmert's right. I think we're guessing, we have some ideas, but I think until they're solidified, I think the House ought to speak to it.
So there's not a leadership plan in place now that's going to be presented in the caucuses?
We talked about a lot of issues. I don't think we've settled totally.
It is a moving target, and even though it is a Senate bill, it's a House amendment, and so it would be disingenuous of us to give you details at this point in time.
Yeah, I think so.
You think you're going to be able to
right,
reach?
though. You're doing well. You're tenacious. I'll give you credit for that.
But are you
okay?
confident overall through this process you're going to be able to get some kind of a deal?
Yes.
You get the House and Senate on board together and get this through. It looks like it's not happening. You might get a House vote tomorrow, but then you got to come back to the Senate. I know y'all wanted it on the governor's desk like yesterday, but that's looking like next week as probably a reality. I mean, you think you're still going to get this done, or is this still an uphill battle?
Yeah, I keep talking, and I sound like a broken record a little bit, but I love this process. It is a process, and you can see this as typical. A good idea gets refined, gets refined, it's being refined in the House. After it gets refined in the House, we'll take a look at it. And there's a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people talking about it, obviously your interest. And you think we'll come, but I just believe this is an issue that's so significant that yes, we'll find a way forward, okay? And I can't, again, there's lots of different options, but I'm very optimistic we'll find a way, in the House and the Senate and the governor to move this forward.
I wanted to ask about bill requests, just because it's that time of year again, and every year y'all seem to be breaking records, but as I understand it, this year you did not. Am I correct?
Likely not to.
Likely not to. What are we at right now?
Give me a count.
So right now, we're at a total number of requests at 1,289 bills.
1,289.
Request.
And I was hearing earlier that, what's the record?
1,300.
64.
Yeah,
It was last
1,360.
year,
That's
which was a record.
a good record not to break.
It's true.
So,
And didn't we pass fewer bills last year than the prior year, or is that inaccurate? I thought we,
It was by like three fewer.
like three.
still,
Yeah.
Well,
still.
Counts.
Still. We'll take it. And so, but we are moving along, I think, at a pretty good pace still, so we've got a lot of bills, and we'll see how many get introduced and I suppose make it through the process.
Can I
So,
ask-
comments on that?
Oh, sorry, I just want to ask one more Medicaid question before we
Okay,
totally
all right.
go off the topic. I was wondering about some of the proposals in HB 210 and adjusting the inflation and stuff like that. The analysis indicated with those kind of minor tweaks might be able to cover that full 138 affordably. Did you have any thoughts on why any of those ideas being incorporated? Is there any reason why the why would SB 96 be a better plan than that?
I don't think we know until we see what the House does, to SB 96. I don't know, you know, I don't, you have to ask the sponsor of the amendment. I know they're working on things, they're trying to figure stuff out. I'm sure they've looked at those other bills and looked at some of the ideas in those other bills. But honestly, we have to wait and see what they do and what passes.
Senator Miller.
Yeah, I just want to reinforce that. I think we have to, we worked on this issue for over a week. Now we have to let the House do their work, and they will bring perhaps a different perspective to this. That's what this process is all about, allowing them now to go to work, bring their various viewpoints, maybe various bills together, and they will kind of, as they figure this out, they will then send us a bill back, and then we'll react as the Senate President said, and decide whether or not we can concur with that bill, or we go to conference and begin to negotiate how we bring the different ideas together.
Good questions. Other questions?
What's going on with tax reform?
I think we've had a couple of meetings. Again, Senator Howard, you've been in some of those, but
He's shaking his head.
we know there's a problem, and that fixing the problem's the
hard.
challenge.
Is the Medicaid fight eclipsing the work on tax reform at all, or delaying it, or?
No, there's, you can speak this further. I mean, there's independent groups working on, I mean, this is also part of legislature, right? There's 104 members of the bodies, and different people pick up different torches and carry them. And there is a group that's working on taxes that is not the same group as the group that's working on Medicaid. And there is progress being made. I think we expect to see a bill. It probably will not be what's passed. We expect something to come out. And they're working on solving the long-term imbalance, or not the long-term, but the immediate imbalance between sales versus income tax, and thinking down the road and where our economy's going, and it's all the things you've heard. The sales tax that's focused on a good-oriented economy is no longer collecting consumption tax on a lot of services that are being purchased that traditionally have not been required to collect and remit taxes. And they're looking at that.
Are you guys worried at all about if you do give an income tax reduction, that's seen as taking money out of education right after the public voted on a potential tax increase for education?
Good to see you, Robert.
Hi, good to see you too.
Yeah, over there. I don't believe we are. Senator Howard, any comments on that?
That is something that's being talked about. It's way too early to say, even on the taxes. I think it's way too early to say what the direction is going. But as far as doing looking at income tax, I can certainly tell you it would not be viewed as taking money away from education. That would not be the perspective that would encourage it. But it's too early to say even if that's where this goes.
So I think most people in this room are aware that we fund a good portion of higher out of our sales tax general fund. So if we appropriate here, and I don't know all the time whether there's a total bright line. We do fund education as significantly as possible, and then we take the rest of the general fund money and try to fund higher ed. If the income tax were reduced, I haven't heard one legislator ever say that anything but they want to fund education more. It wouldn't be an effort to fund education less. It would simply be a fiscal policy that we think that's a better spot right now because of the challenge we're having with our general fund.
And President, can I clarify one thing you said there? You mentioned if the income tax is reduced, it would actually be a rate reduction because
Yeah.
the base would be broadened. The total revenue goal would be, the goal is a
Would be the
neutral,
same.
yeah, neutral number.
So we'd have the same amount of money, but I don't think there's any indication that any thought that that's the reason for it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I have two comments. One, we're talking about the bills, and I think that we know the volume of bills, and our caucus and with my other colleagues, I think we've tried to combine bills. I think we've really been conscious in my caucus and with, I know with the other senators, we've really been watching, if we had two bills we can combine, we really tried to do that. And I think we're seeing that process. The president and leadership, we've all talked about, let's minimize to make things effective, and I think that's happened. I think maybe that's why you see less bills. We've kind of got it, and so I hope that it will continue through the years. And with taxes, we're all involved with that. We've all had conversation. Next week, our caucus will start on conversation about taxation. Everything that my colleagues have said is true. Everything's on the table, and we know we've got to do something. And collectively, all those thoughts will come together, and we'll have a good tax policy.
Where are you on the income tax versus sales tax reduction plan, Minority Leader?
We are looking at everything. Sounds like my colleagues, but it's true. We're looking at everything. Everything is on the table, and collectively, we'll hope to see the best path. We all have different, what we see now and what we see in numbers and figures in the next few weeks. We'll just put them together, we'll have a solution.
So you're not going to play your hand about where you feel about income tax versus sales tax?
You've got it.
And we're more concerned about good tax policy, and we've had a lot of discussions about inputs and the effect of if you build a product and you're charged sales tax on everything you build for that product, your product costs you, in the state of Utah, roughly 6% more because you paid sales tax on every component of that product. You're competing with perhaps Japan or China or France or Colorado or Idaho, your product costs 6% more. And so you can't, if you're going to have businesses manufacturing in the state, you can't tax their inputs. You have to tax their outputs, the final product. So as you make this transition into more of a consumer-based tax, we need to make sure we don't tax inputs. And those are bigger discussions in my mind, far bigger than whether it's sales tax or income tax, is the way we put together the tax policy. And that's where a lot of the discussions are. We want to try to do it the best way possible, and it's very complex.
So, if I heard you right just a moment ago, you said the revenue would be the same.
Or, the speakers talked about a $250 million decrease, and so 225, the governor has to.
Okay, so
Plus $1.
But-
I'm not going to go there, so.
but you're thinking revenue neutral. Is that right?
Well, we'll start revenue neutral, but then we talked about a tax cut, and whether that happens in sales tax or income tax, the $225 million we're talking about, I don't think that's as big a deal as actually how we put together the tax package.
So it might not be, from your perspective, it might not be a tax cut.
I'm saying that if there's a tax cut, I don't think we ought to, I don't think it's.
That's not first. Tax policies first, tax
Yes.
cut maybe.
Yes. So, and I think the tax cut has to be reflective of the policy we put together. Okay.
I wanted to
Other
ask
questions, go ahead.
The bill that's coming up about the beer percentage increases available in stores, what are your thoughts on that?
See, I think there's a senator in the room here, so, oh, Senator Stevenson.
It goes to committee this afternoon,
Yeah,
and it's an increase in alcohol content in beer sold through off premises, so it's consumed off premise. It's a beer you pick up in a store and take home, or take to where you drink it.
Yeah.
But it's not, has nothing to do with bar service, has nothing to do with alcohol content anyplace else, just off premise.
I thought didn't it also apply to taverns, because they serve the same levels, bars
They
and
serve-
taverns serve the same
Well,
level.
all it's the bill itself, in fact, the bill is very simple, it just changes the alcohol content by weight and volume in alcohol in two places in the language of about 250 lines. That's all it does.
But wouldn't taverns and
It
bars,
would change the.
they get to
it
serve
would-
that, because that's all they get.
Well, it would allow them, whatever they're purchasing, would allow them to purchase up to that level, that's correct.
Questions online, anybody online?
We have one question asking why not increase the gas tax to offset the sales tax decrease?
So say that again.
Why not increase the gas tax and lower the sales tax?
Wow, I think that was a ballot initiative, wasn't it? So,
People said no.
that's a good answer, so. Other questions? If not, we've got caucus meetings, so.
I wanted to ask you about a story that Bethany wrote on Representative Coleman's bill that is coming to the House floor. It hasn't come over here yet, about allowing counties to split off and secede. Talking about San Juan County potentially doing
For
that.
the union or for?
Yeah, where are they,
Where are they going?
Each other. State. Yeah, dividing itself, letting part of the county decide to leave the other part of the county.
She called it a
I'm
county
not up to
divorce
speed
bill.
on that yet, but it will be, I'm sure. It'll be coming our way.
No position
So-
on that? Okay.
Okay. Sounds like a fun bill, though. Okay, thank you for coming. Appreciate you being here.
Didn't we have a little war over that once?
Southern Utah's threatened to secede how many times?
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
they really are Utah's Dixie now, is that what we're?
They'll just be Dixie.
They'll just, yes.
Oh, boy.